Hi, folks. My name is Girish Bali, the host for Back to Basics, another Back to Basics for another week. Today, we're going to talk about air quality, air pollution, like pollution in general, and how do we improve that? What do we need to do to improve that? How do we calculate that? How do we measure that? These are the topics, these are the words that we're going to be using today in this episode and trying to find out what this guest has improved or not improved. That's your decision to make. But he is coming in a big bang and he released it, I think, a couple of weeks back. And we're going to talk about that too as to what device he's created. His name is, if I'm not mistaken, Ayyan, and he is going to be on the call today with us on Back to Basics to talk about the details of air quality around the world, around India, around whatever the places that we're going to be talking about. So thank you again. Ayyan, how are you? And thanks for coming to Back to Basics.
Hey Girish, thanks a lot for having me. I'm good and really excited to be part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for coming on Back to Basics. And I just want to make sure that we all are agreed that we're all live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and even on Clubhouse on audio platform. So if you guys who are on audio platforms, please just go on video and take a look at us and I guess see us, I guess. So thank you again, AM, for coming here. So before we start the details of air quality, air pollution, all the words that I'm going to be using today, what does Back to Basic mean to you?
If you're talking about the show, this is excellent. I've been watching a lot of people talking about their journey, and sometimes we do go on with all the details and their professional lives, and we just have to come back to the basics. I mean, a lot of times we just take a stop, go back to the basics, and again reboot ourselves. So I think if I don't know if I'm making it sensible at this point, but this is a simple meaning that I have in my mind about back to basics.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again. And this is the mission of my podcast and mission of my what I do here. So thank you again for explaining that. So let's put it this way: air pollution is a big, huge topic, right? And how do we clean it up? I think, is that the right word, or calculate is the right word? So what is the first step when it comes to air pollution for you?
I think the first step comes is measuring, because it's very evident in a lot of quotes. You will find out that you cannot improve something that you cannot measure. So the basic starts from there, and I think that was one pretty evident purpose for us to begin with. So we started like 6 years ago, and we found out that this is what is required to first understand the problem.
Hmm.
Air is something that what you are breathing, what I am breathing, could be very different and could be very relevant to each other at a different atmosphere. So you do not know. If you see a glass of water, if it's diluted, you would say that's a polluted water. But for air, we don't have those kind of metrics without a monitor, without something that is measuring and giving you that information. So I think the first step is to have good, accurate data, and then maybe think of what next can be done.
So is it really that bad? I mean, we're just talking India only, correct? But is it kind of around the world? I think it is, right? Or what are your thoughts on
Well,
that?
it's about the activities that are adding to the pollution. So there are certain areas where there are natural activities that add to it. Let's say a forest fire, which happens in the Amazon, right? So those forest fires add to a lot of pollution, and that's something that cannot be avoided with like at some point of time. But there are certain activities like the industrial revolution, or the emissions or the smoke that is coming out from industries. Those are the things that can be controlled, and that is really bad. When you talk about India and the world, so I'll give you some examples as we go along the show. Something that comes on the top of my mind is when I compare data of India and the world, and I find the vast difference. So the data is secondary. First, there are certain limits that the WHO has set, or the bodies, the local bodies, or the government sets. So even there, you'll find a lot of discrepancy. There's a lot of difference. What WHO sets maybe for a particular parameter as 5. I'm not going to confuse you with all the details. So let's say you understand here that there's a count of 5, which is lesser is better, and the same limit for, let's say, India is around 40. So that's the level which we still need to achieve. So yes, it's bad to give an answer in one word.
Yeah. So let me ask you this here. Is it true? Let's talk about India for 1 second, if you don't mind. So, do you think that South India is actually more polluted versus North or Central, or how do we did that? Do we do in divisions and regions, or how does that work for you?
So we have a national standard, first of all, for India, which is not specific to any geography as far as the country is considered. It's applicable to the entire nation. So, firstly, just to give an idea of how this works, in same way there is a guideline for US, there is a guideline for EU, and they have their set for all different parts of the country. So it's not very geography specific as for that matter.
Okay,
It more depends upon, let's say, you must be aware about the crop burning in the northern region, right,
that's right.
around Delhi.
Yeah.
So that's a very pertinent issue that comes up every year, and we're still trying to find out a solution. So if you see that, if you consider that as a particular event or an incident, you would say that okay, the northern part is very polluted, but that's just one aspect of the entire year, right?
Hmm.
So overall, these are just some events on and off which can maybe give you an indication, but it's nothing like that. Everywhere it's equally polluted. But yes, to give you a better comparison, I mean, when you compare metros with tier 2 cities or tier 3 cities, you'll find that variation. Rather than being north, south, east, or west, I would say the metros are somewhere sometimes highly polluted because of, let's say, the industrialization, the population, the vehicular pollution, all those things. Also, the fast redevelopment of urban infrastructure. So, construction and all those activities, they add on to the particulate matter pollution, which we inhale directly and affect our lungs. So, those things, those places where there's a rapid urbanization happening, those are the areas where you'll find that
Hmm.
this is just one factor, not the only governing factor, but yes, this is something to get as an indication.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Thank you again. So, is it right to say this is just an option, just an idea? Do you think that city is more polluted versus the countryside? Because I think countryside is less polluted, right? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, absolutely. You can say that, provided that the countryside does not have industrial belt or something like that, which is
Yeah.
not governed, because that also comes as a as a con of it. Sometimes the cities are more under the scrutiny of the lawmakers, so you have to maintain those things, and so they shift towards the roadside. But that's a very rare case. But usually it is the thing, the countryside or the villages, I would say, as we call in India. So they
Hmm.
are less polluted, and you often find now that in this modern world, a lot of resorts and a lot of vacations are been going towards these places and not the urban areas, because
Hmm.
that's where you want a break from the city life, not only the noise but also the air pollution as a factor. So yes, you can
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you again. So let's talk about your company and how you started this whole thing, if you don't mind. And I
Sure.
think, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, you just launched it a few weeks back. So can you explain that also, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure, sure. I'll give you the journey of what we have been doing. So we started like around 5 6 years ago, as I said, and this was one main thing. When we saw the stats from WHO or a lot of leading organizations, and those were really eye-opening. When you see that sometimes 9 out of 10 people, the death is because some kind of pollution. 6 or 7 cities of the most polluted cities across the globe are in India itself. So there was another stat that if we can combat this air pollution issue, our lifespan will increase around 4 to 5 years. So
Hmm.
those are very horrifying. That okay, these are these factors which are affecting our lives directly, and people do not know about it. So then we came to find out that okay, what's next? What is it that how can we contribute? And we found out that, as I was saying, measurement or the monitoring was very expensive. There were limited stations which were deployed by the government in India. Some of them were the state government, some with the central government, and these were quite expensive. So it was not very easy to deploy them at multiple locations and give you, let's say you want the data of your society or the place where you're living or the city, and it may not be under the radar of the government to deploy a expensive station there. So you're not being able to get the data there. So then what was the solution? So there we found out that a low cost solution, an affordable solution for getting hyper local data for people, and then maybe the stakeholders who may not be able to afford a expensive system can then take these systems and take necessary actions based on the data. So that was one driving factor for us. And when we went out in the market, we could not find a very suitable solution which would help us, deploy this. So we set out, we all came together and we came up with this product and then started deploying it across many cities. So back then it was somewhere around 50 or 100 installations when we started in the first year, and today we have around 1,000 installations and we are present in 50 countries of the world. So that's where it came up that there were a lot of people not only in India but across the globe who were looking for such solutions, and it really boosted us when we started deploying it. And the product that you were talking about that we recently launched was like something that we created for the industry. This was a single parameter. That's only one parameter. So usually all our products have like they can monitor gases, that gases which can be come out from your exhaust of the vehicles or industries. There's a thing called particulate matter, which is actually a very fine dust. They are finer than your hair. So that's something that you can easily inhale, and these are the causes for your respiratory diseases. So the coughing and all, there's one factor which is really harmful and can also lead to death in a lot of cases. So all those parameters combined together in one box, one enclosure, you can deploy multiple of them, and then you can take the data anywhere across the globe. It's an IoT device, it's an Internet of Things device, so you can just access the data from anywhere across the globe, get whatever actions you want to, send it to people across, and all those things can create a great impact. The one that we just launched is a similar product. It's focused on industries. We wanted them also to participate in this cause, and then there were some other applications for safety and all. So that was the whole purpose of coming up with this product.
Yeah. Thank you again. So let me ask you this here. Obviously, I know IoT devices. I know how this technology works. But let me ask you this: can a consumer buy this, or this is only businesses only?
Uh, Consumer can definitely buy this. There's no stopping it. In fact, I'll give you a couple of examples. There were people from high-end real estate buildings, the apartments here in India, as we call. So they bought them for their whole the residents of their society, right? So they wanted to showcase how clean is that society compared to some maybe living in Mumbai in a very polluted place. So this was actually Lodha Group, if you know. So they were like they're very good in this, and they did this in one of their facilities here itself. So consumers can definitely buy it. But what happens is usually as a middle class family in India, you want to just focus on your home, so they go for the domestic ones, which are quite smaller. We as a company are not into this, but you'll find a lot of them on Amazon or any other marketplace, and you can get it for your home. Then be aware about what is happening inside your home. We are more focused on what is happening outside. So in air quality, we say that it's indoor and outdoor. So as a company, we are focused on the outdoor aspect, and we are trying to get the stakeholders, the government, the industries take responsibility and take action on what can be done on this. But yes, consumers can too take part in this.
So let me ask you this. Thank you again, by the way. So if I bought this right as a business, company, right? Um, Actually, let me step back. As you as a developer, as you as a company who's owning this, right? Is there other data that we can collect? For example, if there's like 5 different locations, can you send it to a centralized government database saying that there's a problem in this area? Let's focus on and how to improve it.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm glad you asked that. So I think I missed out on saying this. So I'll tell you how this works. So there's a thing called the smart city mission, right, in India, which is where a lot of cities have been revamped, and they've been making it very quality infrastructure. They're providing that. So one of the aspects of the smart city is providing them air quality data. So I'm going to get deep into this and give you an idea of how it works. So
Hmm.
we are present in across 12 to 13 such smart cities in India. So you must have heard about say Varanasi or Agra. These are all places where a lot of
Yeah.
the Taj Mahal also comes from is in Agra. So let's say you take an example of Agra, and we have deployed around 40 of such units there. So these are strategically located in different hotspots of the city. Now you get, since it's an IoT device, you get the data across and you send the APIs to a central dashboard. So I
Yeah.
am sitting in a, it's called a command and control center. I'm from the stakeholder, and maybe from the government, maybe an agency who's looking after that. So I'm sitting here in front of me. I have the data of all the 40 units at my place. Now, in addition to this, I have data of the traffic. I have data of other things as well. I have CCTVs installed in those locations. So basically, it's a pole. They have a CCTV. You have an environmental sensor, which is ours, of course, and
Hmm.
I'm monitoring it. So a good use case is something like you can see that over the time, a specific road has a lot of high AQI, we call air quality index. I'll get to that as well.
Hmm.
So let's say it's highly polluted. You're observing it every day.
Hmm.
So what can you do? So as a decision maker, what I can do is, if it's a two-way road, I'll just make it a one-way road for the time being when I know the peak is at high, and then take the note of what is the air pollution levels then. And this has actually happened in one of the cities where they
Hmm.
did that, and they found that okay, because we took this decision, the vehicular pollution levels decreased during the peak time, and that was a very good solution that they come up. So
Hmm.
it's like we have the data, and then sorry, we have the data, and then you can take any kind of decisions based on that. But the
Hmm.
problem was there was no data. Now that we have it, I mean, just think and you will find a good solution for it.
Hmm. So, okay, so let me ask you this here. People who have iPhones and Androids, right? And when we look at the weather, right, it also tells you the air quality.
Yeah.
Where is that connected to? Which database are they getting that information from?
Yeah, so they get the data from these government stations itself. So once
Okay.
it's been there on the website, you can get the data from those websites. It's all open, right? Once you have it on the government website, you can access it. So you will get that data from there. More number of stations like ours, more number of devices. When we add to it, the government then needs to keep that under open database, and then you can also get more the hyperlocal data of let's say a state or a city at a very very localized level as well. So
So
that is how
these
you get the data.
so then these devices with the data will go to that same database that you're mentioning?
Hopefully yes, that is how it should go, and you'll get a better data platform. Right now what's happening is there are a lot of algorithms, there's a lot of machine learning and artificial intelligence which comes into the picture here, and
Mm.
you kind of forecast what could be the data around. You generate heat maps. So if you don't have there's point one and point two, which are
Mm.
like maybe 500 kilometers away, and you don't have anything in between. So based on the data, you will just show a heat map that okay, this is what could be the air quality at that location, but it may
Mm.
not be accurate. It's projected. Now imagine you have 10 such points between that. So how accurate it would be? So because you have a live device monitoring it. So that is how it can be made better.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you again for explaining that. So maybe you might not know the answer, but I'm just going to ask it anyway. Okay. Now, with this air quality means that there's a lot of fuel, a lot of coal, a lot of industries, right? Now, slowly we're getting into the electric world, right? Which means a lot of power, a lot of sun, solar, right? But those things are expensive. So the infrastructure is still not there yet. Maybe in certain cities, yes, but not in the other places. So, what are your thoughts on that? So, how is this data going to help to expedite this and make it cheaper for consumers like us?
Quite a tricky question, because you won't believe, just before the call, I was thinking that whether to go for a EV or whether to wait, what's the dynamic,
Hmm.
what about the battery waste? There's a lot of things, right? We have a lot of comparisons on the internet,
Yes.
but I don't want to get into that.
No.
What I can simply answer is at this point, with whatever knowledge I have, that there have been studies where they have compared vehicular pollution in a city and found out that the effect of vehicular pollution can be marginal. Like not this is not the only governing factor.
Mm,
So there are multiple things that come into the picture. So it really depends on what case it is. As far as the other infrastructure is considered, I don't think I am at the stage to comment on that. Maybe you'll
mm.
find someone better to give you an idea.
Sure,
All
sure.
I can say is that once you are aware about what infrastructure you are investing in, let's say for example coal. Now I'm not saying that okay, this is bad or this is good or whatever it is, because
Mm.
we as a country have been dependent on coal since a long time,
That's right.
right? So
That's right. That's
the
why I asked that
transition, yeah,
question. Yep.
yeah. So the transition is not that easy. There's economics, there's a lot of things that come into the picture. Maybe I'm not the right person to get into that, but
Mm,
what I can say is that there are simple measures that you can take. For example, coal handling. Now the majority of the particles or the pollution which is contributed is where the coal is transported or on the conveyor belt and the particles are moving around and they're suspended in the air.
mm,
So if you can come up with novel techniques to control that, that is your controllable. Now the question that you are asking is, it's too big for me to even think what could be an answer. But all
mm,
I know is that even in plants like there is a cement industry, so you have a ash handling plant where you
mm.
have these particles which are suspended and you find out solution to keep it suppressed and not get into the air and then contribute. So those are the things that you can do. Once you have that data, you put it on the surrounding of the industry, take such action. So I'm just not saying there are people that they are doing it at this point. There is a factory in Africa, or cement factory, which is the biggest of the iron of the world or something, but it's quite big, and they are doing this. They have controlled. They have now the data of their entire periphery, and now they'll take actions upon it. So I guess let's take one step at a time. What's there? Take the data, take some action, then think of what you can, because those kind of transitions will have multiple factors coming in. I don't know if I've answered your question, but I think
No,
this
no,
is what
you
I can
have.
talk about.
You absolutely have. I mean, I had an interview with a person who's trying to go away from plastic and make it edible spoons
Yeah,
live a few weeks back, maybe 3 weeks back, and and the question that I asked is, it's going to take at least 100 years to take away that plastic because we kind of used to it. So I think
yeah,
with air pollution, I think it might be the similar thing. I'm not really sure, because it is a battle. It's not only India. Yes, we are focusing in India, but there are other countries which are kind of facing the similar thing. So
yeah.
have you decided that is there any other devices in the US or UK or something like that that they are using, and you can adapt that idea also into the to the India continent?
In terms of reducing the pollution, is it what you're
Yeah,
asking?
yes, that is correct.
Yeah. So there are very good technologies that are coming up. In fact, we are associated with one of them in India as well. That's a Bangalore-based startup, and we are working with them closely on this. So they have this outdoor air purification system which works on RF and they radio frequency, and they reduce the with an electronic charge. You can reduce the pollution level. Don't ask me more about the technology. That's what I have known so far.
Yes.
So they are doing good. So what they are doing is they're taking our product, they are monitoring the air quality before, then they are putting their system, and then they are monitoring it later on. So
Yeah.
that's something that is working on. But these are again efforts in, I mean, scattered efforts. So once we have certain technologies with for purification, we can do that. But my point is, this is more of a technology. It's more. It should be more a policy level thing,
Yeah.
because this is what we call in our field like an end of pipe solution, or something that you do it before it even happens. So
Yeah.
there are whatever we are thinking right now, whatever the technologies are coming, they are all end of pipe solutions. So the damage is done and we are controlling.
Yeah.
It would be better if things can be thought of well in advance. There are many things in the industry. There's called green chemistry. There's green production. All those things kind of contribute to lesser pollution. There are concepts that are there. So once we have that before the process, I think it will make more sense.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. We can definitely talk offline because I would like to like pick your brain whenever it comes to these things. But let me ask you this one last question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I know that um, the air quality is a huge thing, and we as you are resolving that issue, and that there are other industries doing the same thing and other companies doing the same thing. But what
Right.
can a consumer do to improve one by one, because we all need to be as one nation, right, to help each
Yep.
other out. So what are your thoughts? What steps do you think that as a consumer can help you to make this air quality a lot better?
I think very small things like there was a good saying I was reading from MS Dhoni, the ex-Indian cricketer somewhere, and he just said very nicely that you can only take charge of the controllable. So whatever is in control of you, you can do it. So, for example, I still see in the country and a lot of places there's burning of waste. Now, when you're burning waste, I mean, you're actually like you don't want to do it and take it and get into that ecosystem of collecting the waste and putting it to the landfill. You just want to avoid that, and you have found a quick solution. But
Hmm.
the impact that is creating on at that moment, and multiply by the number of places it is happening around, I mean that's huge. You just need to take charge of it. You can take the waste, get it into that ecosystem, let that ecosystem handle it. This is one thing. I mean, it's a basic thing. Don't get into all those things. You still see old buses going on. This is a very good policy that came up for the scrapping of old vehicles, but that was just another thing. But you still see that you're not taking care of, let's say, a vehicle, and you can see it giving out smoke. And even if you don't take an action on this, what else can you expect? I mean, do
Sure.
something. I mean, you can. There are solutions now which can help around. You can get. You're now been given boost for exchanging the car or whatever you want to do. But
Hmm.
obviously, I know it's easier said than done. But the awareness should be there. The intent should be there. So I think
Hmm.
a couple of things that come into my mind is this: you still find they're burning, for your hot water. They're still using those wooden logs or all those things. They're all creating, and it's not when it's an open area, it doesn't matter. But when you're in a cramped area, like in India, still till today, you won't believe there is this a problem of indoor cooking, and because they're using this biomass, the smoke gets into rural women, and it's
Hmm.
affecting their lives. So
Hmm.
there are certain schemes that are helping to eliminate them. But yeah, I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, there are many
Sure,
things,
of
but
course. I mean, there are plenty more, but is that considered as a secondhand smoking also? Is that
yeah,
is that
yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. You should
Hmm.
see one article by New York Times. They compared two kids, one brought up in a nice, well-to-do family, and one brought up in a slum, and how their
Hmm.
lives changed with the terms of air quality.
Hmm.
I would send you the link after the show. That's
Yeah, please, if
fantastic.
you don't mind.
You'll get a fantastic idea of how your environment in itself can help you like be safe from any kind of hazard. So just imagine I traveling in a car and some person who's traveling in an open vehicle for the entire day, the commute in the entire commute.
Hmm.
So I'm just being in a better place. I mean, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. Thank you again. And before you leave today, uh, how was your journey on Back to Basics? And do you have any last words for all my viewers and my listeners today?
Well, this was fantastic. I mean, I was so excited to get on this because I saw your list of guests that you have, and they were nowhere close to what I have been doing because they were all they were influencers. They've done so much in their lives, and I was reading about them, saw them, and I was very scared. Like, what am I going to contribute to this? But I'm so glad that you took up this topic. You got the right question and got the right info out of me to help the viewers who are watching here to at least get aware about what we are doing here. It's not like earlier. If I had to say 3 years ago, we were in a limited space, but now that I see we are expanding day by day in countries,
Hmm.
it just boosts my morale. That okay, it's not just the problem of India, as you rightly said. It's a global problem, and people are contributing to find a good solution to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for coming on my show and supporting me. And honestly, it's definitely my honor that you came into my show and told us all the detailed stuff about what you do and what you're doing and what we should, as a consumer, do to make a better place to live for our children and children to children and everyone else around us. So thank you
Yeah,
again for supporting me on that.
thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. So, guys, we spoke with Ayyan today, and we talked about the basics of air pollution, and we talked about what we need to do to take steps. Yes, he did say one thing, that we all should improve on small things just to make it a little better, for him to get better data, so he can tell the governments and around us to get a better database. So as usual, as always, there is a quote of the day, and hopefully my guest will like this quote of the day. We want people to tell us the possible steps that they can taken to save our lives from the harmful effects of air pollution. So, guys, as usual, as always, what do I always say at the end of my episode? Everything in life goes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, take care, God bless, and I will see you next time on Back to Basics. Keep on commenting on all my episodes because it'll help me to get better guests, just like the guest we had today. Guys, there's 3 things in every episode: the content, the guest, and definitely the host, which is always the best. Guys, take care, God bless, and I will see you next time on Back to Basics on my podcast. Take care, God bless. Next week's episode on Back to Basics and terminating. What does Back to Basic mean to you?
Yeah, I'm ready for that. And actually, when you saw that Back to Basics, it actually reminded me of a song that I really enjoyed back in the '90s. It was actually written by a Christian group, and it's called Back to the Basics for Life. So I'm going to read the chorus that I really liked on it.
Awesome.
And here's how it goes. It is written by For Him was the name of the group. It goes like this, just a couple verses, a couple of things here. It said, "We need to get back to the basics of life.